Hey everyone, welcome to lesson 5 of our image gallery project. In this video, we're introducing CSS, Cascading Style Sheets, the technology behind how we style our web pages. We will begin with just looking at how CSS can be introduced to a document. There's 3 different ways. We'll also look at the fact that HTML elements are simply rectangles or boxes, and it is up to us to kind of control the position and location and width and so on, and we use CSS technology to do that. So our workflow. Right now I have our friends at W3 Schools open at the ready, so let's head on down and click on Learn HTML. While we're doing that, also we're opening up the HTML tutorial. Please make sure you have your project GitHub repository, perhaps even have GitHub open to that personal access token, have that at the ready, and also your IDE, our Cloud9 IDE. Okay, where we last left off, if you may have noticed that I copied the wrong image. So what we want to do is go down to that image source on our line 18 and just backspace over that, pull down our image folder on the left hand side, and we want this one, the 2700. Highlight over that, copy file path, and bring it on into source, and just recall that the file that we're working with, index.html, sits right off of the root directory, so we do not need to instruct the browser to open that folder. Once it has index, it will already have it. However, it will need to instruct the browser to open up that subfolder within the project of assets. So we keep that, then / and then the image. Let's hit Control S. Let's go to preview, see if we made the change. And there it is. So it looks like we're good to go. We got the right image tied with the right site, and we do see a little bit of difficulty here as well. We've got the header on the top, we've got our image, and notice the site is sitting on the same line, if you will, as the image. We want it down below. That's what this video today is about. Let's take a look at this, but I want to expand this preview. Notice all the way over to the upper right hand corner within this preview feature. We could, that icon in the right hand side, upper right, pop out to a new page, and we could see the HTML index.html file in its own page on within the browser tab. So let's work with that. Come on over, close that out temporarily, and there are times when you want to do both, and we'll just go back and forth between those 2 tabs. Now, back to W3 Schools, down to HTML, CSS, and our introduction to CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. That's provided that we use an external file for the most part, but we'll get to that. So what exactly is CSS? Here you go. It controls color, font, size of text, space between elements, and all of that. It's used to format the layout of the page. Take a look at the tip here. Cascading means that one style applied to a parent also applies to the children of that parent. So once again, the structure is important here. Make sure that you have your indentation. Make sure that tags within tags are known as children, and we are intentionally setting it up for that way. And 3 ways to use CSS: inline, internal, and external. Inline is going to be as an attribute within the start tag. Internal would be as a style tag within the head document of the head section. And then finally, a separate link and its own file, and that's really what we're going to go to. But let's look at inline just momentarily. Take a look at the example. Let's actually apply this style equals to our H1. I'm going to just cut and paste that, and notice that this is just an attribute. Style equals, that's our attribute name, and then the value is how you want that style to appear. Now, this is the CSS part, color, colon, blue, and then semicolon. We will get to what that means, but for now, let me just come on over and add it to our H1. Remember, attributes are added to the start, so I'm going to put my cursor inside of the starting tag, hit space, Control V. I want to make one adjustment here. Color actually, believe it or not, changes the font color. I want the entire element highlighted in a light blue. So that attribute now, or that styling is background color, light blue. Let's hit save. Let's see if that did anything. And come back up to our new tab, hit refresh, and notice that the H1 tag now has a light blue color and it goes across the entire screen. And this is highlighting that an HTML element occupies everything from the element, the visual on the left to the right of that viewport, unless we tell it otherwise. And CSS is one way we could do that. So another way we want to style CSS, and that's what we're going to change to now, is it its own file. So I'm going to come back to, let's see, I'm going to come back to my Cloud9, and I'm going to just delete what we just did. And I want to open up our separate, if you recall, part of the starter code, there was a style.css file. Let's double click on that. And all there was a comment. So CSS comments are /*/. Let's actually go to our friends at W3 Schools and see how to set up CSS on its own. So I'm going to click on the CSS technology up top. There we are in the tutorial. Let's go down to syntax, and here is an example. So CSS begins with identifying the selector, the element in which you want to change. Then we want the property, color, background color, and then the value. So let's see if we could do this in the file. I want H1 space, open curly brackets, and I want background color. And notice our friend the snippet comes up a little bit here and is a little helpful. And I'm going to use this to be light green here. And I forgot what to do, so let me go back to syntax. So I should have property, value, semicolon. Now this example is showing 2. So yes, if you leave a space, you could adjust 2. We're going to use 1, so I need property, value, semicolon. Let me see if we have that. So I have property, background color, light green, close my semicolon, and close my bracket. Hit Control S, and when I go back to preview, if I hit refresh, nothing happens. Well, there's a reason for that. We have to allow the style file, the style.css file, to talk and communicate with the index file. And if we go into the metadata, the head of our index file, because again, this is not going to show up on the page of our document, but it is valuable information that we need for the document. If I type in link and use the link snippet, look what comes up. And inside of href, we want, this is the relationship is style sheet, the type is text CSS, and in href, we want to type the name of our style sheet file, style.css. Since they are both on the same root directory, we do not need to change any indication there. There's no path other than direct to the file. So let's actually clean up a little bit here. Hit Control S to save. So now, once the browser reads index.html, it will come over and say, oh, wait a minute. We need to also be incorporating any rules or properties from this file, which is here on styles.css. And let's see if the background color now goes to light green. Head on over to your preview, hit the refresh button, and lo and behold, there's our light green. So now we know that the two files are talking to each other, And we've adjusted for the H1 tag. So let's continue on with that and see some other items here. So I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to actually change this to the header as the, let me get the selector. Now I'm going to change to header. And for the time being, I'm just going to stay with background color if that's okay with you. So we've got our syntax ready. Let me go down to CSS Colors here, have that open at the ready. And now I want space, open curly bracket. Now let me share a little secret with you. Often you're not just styling the background color only. Many times you have several different style attributes and values per one element. So what you do is you hit enter here, and it anticipates, okay, I will close that out on line 9. When I move my cursor right behind the 11 curly bracket, it has that subtle highlight over the opening, and it's telling me everything here will be attributed to header. So let's type in background color again. And this one we're going to do light blue. So once again, we want the element, the property, and the value, closed out the thought with the semicolon, and then there's our closing bracket. So let's see, let's save this and see if that picked it up. And sure enough, take a look what happened here. The background color is now blue except for the H1. So this is the cascading feature. As the browser reads down, certain styles to elements take precedence or cascade down. So immediately it said, okay, I'm going to change the header, everything in that header. And don't forget, there were 3 elements here, H1, 4, and 6. We moved we changed the background color to light blue, but then when it got to H1, it noticed it needed to change or overwrite the background for just the H1 that is light green. So we are going to stop here, and we're going to explore in the next video the CSS box model a little bit more, and we'll see how we can actually manipulate this rectangle with a lot of different features. And specifically, we'll look at how the element is affected by borders and margins and paddings. So stick around for that one. Thanks for coming along for an intro to CSS. We'll see you in the next one, everyone.